Okay, so let's talk about the science behind Wilhelm Reich's experiments and observations. Wilhelm Reich is the one that discovered orgone energy. So how did he discover this? What did he do? So a little bit of background first. Reich worked with Freud. So if you know anything about Freud, Freud was very concerned with the concept of the human organism and sexuality. So Reich was similar. He also looked at a lot of components of human sexuality, especially as it applied to the neuroses that came after people repressed sexual urges. And so, more than sexuality, Reich was also really interested in energy, the natural laws of energy in the universe. So, this is kind of where things started. So Reich did research for many years, and I'm just going to summarize a few of his main experiments and things that led to the discovery of orgone energy. So first of all, one of the main observations that Reich had was people he found that were in a decrepit state where their musculature was kind of off, maybe asymmetrical. He noticed that after some kind of emotional release, that person had much more fluid and open movement after that emotional release. So that was the first part of his observations. Another one is that when he looked at protozoa under the microscope, he noticed that they had these natural characteristic movements, very common in a lot of living things. So he called these orgastic movements. And then, of course, as he was interested in human sexuality, he saw the orgasm as an opportunity to study the natural laws of energy as they flow through the human body. And so I'll say that probably socially and politically, this is where Reich got into a lot of trouble, because for people that didn't understand what he was doing, it looked from the outside that he was very concerned about sexuality, and that probably scared people of the day. But anyway, in the orgasm, in this type of energy release seen over here, and also with the protozoal movements, he noticed this type of bioelectricity running through all organic life. So bioelectricity, he came up with a formula of the way things move. So things start with tension, go through some kind of bioelectrical charge, bioelectrical discharge, and finally relaxation. And so he called this the formula of biological tension and charge. He had another name for this, which was the orgasm formula, but you can imagine at a certain point, he probably wanted to come across as a little bit more politically correct. So anyway, he's making all of these observations about how energy is flowing through living things. So does this concept of movement, this characteristic movement, does that also apply to non-living things? So he set up a couple of experiments. And so the first part of the experiment was he was looking at grass. He took some dried grass, he sterilized it and rehydrated it and looked at it under a microscope. What you can see under the microscope is that over time, these little buds started to pop off from the grass and eventually form a conglomerate of buds, which he later called bions. The same thing happened, or a similar thing, I should say, happened with when he took metal particles or sand or other inorganic materials, sterilized it, put it under a microscope, and was able to see the same thing, that these little buds or vesicles would pop off that inorganic material and form conglomerate groupings that he called bions. This whole process, this is super basic. This whole process, though, can be looked at as a new kind of biogenesis. So he was seeing biogenesis occurring, and this is just because this is such a brief little talk that I'm having today. You can look a lot more into biogenesis, but this is the basics. He saw this energy coming through organic and inorganic systems. And then if you take what was going on, he was looking closely and noticing the same orgastic movements that he could see in the protozoa. whether it was organic or inorganic. So now he's peaked, right? Now this is getting interesting. What is this energy? What is this energy that we're seeing organic and inorganic molecules taking on in this kind of new form of biogenesis? So he could see under the microscope that this bion grouping actually emitted a subtle blue type of energy. So some people say that he could see that blue hue around these little bions. That same energy he was able to see in people. As he got more finely tuned to recognizing the existence of this energy, he could see it being emitted off of people. So in people that were fatigued, potentially weak, have some kind of weak system, he saw less of this energy. And then in people with lots of vitality, he could actually see more of this energy. So now this was really begging the question, what is this energy? And so that's when we found Orgone energy or life energy. So Reich really knew that he had kind of stumbled upon this new form of energy. And so he called it Orgone energy or life energy. So in order to try to trap this energy, if you will, Reich created the Orgone accumulator. The premise being that Orgone energy exists all around in the environment. Organic materials, and bear with me because again, this is a really short summary of a lot of research, but organic materials attract and collect orgone from the atmosphere, and then metallic material attracts and repels orgone. So what he observed through lots of empirical evidence was that in a person sitting in the Orgone accumulator, they were able to accumulate a lot of this energy. So look at what this is. This is alternating layers of organic and inorganic materials surrounding this person. And so what would theoretically be happening is that this accumulator is drawing in orgone energy from the atmosphere and giving it to whatever is inside. And so without going too much into all of this research, because of course this is years of research, this is the basic premise of how orgone energy is accumulated and potentially harnessed. So this starts begging the question of orgonite. So orgonite is a mixture of organic and inorganic materials. And I put question marks here because we have technically not been able to prove the existence of orgone, but many people can feel its effects. And I'm sure there's people out there that have also proved this energy, but here's where we are. People that know about orgonite, this is a feeling. This is like empirical evidence. This person sitting in here, this is all empirical evidence. We see them getting charged up after the sitting in the orgone accumulator. Reich was able to show that he could cure certain illnesses from sitting in the accumulator. So a lot of this is still very much a mystery. And now when we make orgonite today, we also put crystals inside. So why are we putting crystals inside? And the thought process is that the crystal is attracting and harnessing and sort of stabilizing the orgone energy that's being captured all around it. So that's where we're at with just briefly summarizing orgonomy and Wilhelm Reich. And yeah, more research necessary, right? So Reich was not appreciated in his day. It was a very limited group of people that was really appreciating the work that he was doing. So let's keep looking into this. And in the meantime, have fun discovering how this stuff makes you feel.